You will want to remain alert.
Greetings and welcome.
Welcome to your rebirth.
What do you want from me?
I want to play a game.
No, it's not creepy at all.
Live or die. Make your choice.
How much time do I have?
Months, at best.
I still have a lot of work that needs to be done.
I need everyone on this case!
All right, welcome everybody to my channel. I'm of course your host, Mega Mike the Movie Man. We have a super fun stream planned for you all tonight. If you love the Saw franchise, we are going through this entire franchise here. We're going to go through every single film, have a great discussion with an amazing panel here today. And then we're even going to give our individual rankings. And then we're going to give a group collective ranking. And you will then find out what is the best Saw film of all time. So this is going to be a lot of fun. A couple reminders. If you love horror movies, just like us on this panel, you're going to want to saw through that like and subscribe. Of course, support the channel by making us scream with those super chats. And if you have ideas for streams out there, don't keep them trapped. Escape with memberships for exclusive perks like choosing future stream and video topics. And thank you so much. It's all greatly appreciated. But yeah, let's go ahead and introduce this amazing panel right away. Hey, how's everybody doing out there?
What's up?
What's going on?
How is everybody?
Good. All right, so let's get right into this. We're not going to waste any time here tonight. We got to first talk about, of course, Saw. Came out in 2004, and I got to start. I just love this movie. I love this movie so much. This is the one I rewatched the most. So I got to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Like, when you first saw it, what was the experience like? Because my experience, I was watching it on a PSP. That was my first viewing of it. But I was still shocked by the time we got to the ending. Oh, and just fair warning out there, audience, this is going to be spoiler filled. So if you have not seen the Saw films, I would say go watch those first and then come back for the replay. Or if you don't mind spoilers, then stick around. It's going to be a fun time. But I will also give another spoiler warning once we get the Saw X, right before we get to that one, because I know that's the newest one. But yeah, how'd you guys feel about Saw out there? I got to let you guys talk.
Man, the cool thing about Saws too is they all came out during October too, so it was always something. As soon as that first one came, boom, you know, every year in October it was something to look forward to. And man, seeing the original Saw movie for the first time, I remember seeing it in theaters also. I mean, it was just something different, you know. It was very different than a lot of other horror movies, and they accomplished it really well. The twist was always just, I mean, it was kind of a mind blow at the time too, you know. Really cool stuff. I mean, the fact that he was sitting there, laying there the whole entire time, just basically watching everything go by. It's pretty twisted, man. I love the original Saw. I almost feel like it's kind of a modern day masterpiece, the original.
Yeah, they were a really big deal for me because me and my older son went and seen them every single time. Every single year one come out every October. And when I seen the first one, I'd never really seen anything like that before. It kind of blew me away. And so every year we kind of counted down, waiting for the trailer, waiting for the movie to come out. And it was just kind of a ritual for me and him every year. So he's 32 now. I kind of miss those days. So he wasn't able to see the new one with me, but my younger son's old enough now he wouldn't go see it with me. So it's still cool.
That's awesome.
So,
Yep.
Kind of mimic what Thompson and Ben just said. I remember seeing this movie in the theater for the first time, and that ending, you know, it still sticks with me to this day. This Saw is the Saw that reigns supreme for me. You know, anybody who I believe I was talking to Floyd House Flicks the other day about this. He was posting some reels of, you know, that ending scene and just talking about it. And, you know, anybody who sat there and said that they knew that was going to happen is a liar. Yep. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody knew that was going to happen. And that's why that first Saw movie is so iconic. But yes, it's the King Supreme for me.
Yeah, I think it's my personal favorite ending of all time for any movie out there. When I think, okay, what are the best endings out there? I automatically go Saw, because it was so shocking. Like you said, nobody expected it in their wildest dreams that something like that would actually happen, that they could pull that off. It was so shocking.
Yeah. And there's something about that door, that voice, and that slamming that door at the very end.
Yeah,
it's so iconic.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yep.
I wasn't old enough to see it when it first came out, but I remember my sister and her husband, it was the first movie they went on a date to see. So every year after that, it was their like the thing that they would do instead of going out to dinner and
Well, their
stuff.
anniversary
Just go
thing.
see
That's
Saw.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and there's so many good things to bring up in this movie. So let's dissect it just a little bit more here. First of all, James Wan directed this movie, and James Wan, to me, he's like a master horror director now. He just how he is able to put these movies together is perfect. So really not any criticism here of the movie. I love how they make it more of a police procedural kind of movie, right? There's a mystery to it, something different. I mean, you can almost consider it not even horror to a point. Yeah, there's a lot of horrific blood and gore in it, but I always thought of it more as a thriller, right? That's why I really like the movie. There's that thriller element to it. And then all the psychology and the philosophy behind the Jigsaw character and his story. That was the stuff that made me fall in love with this franchise right off the bat. I don't know. How'd you guys feel about all that kind of stuff, those elements?
Yeah, I loved how they did the play back and forth. You know, they'll show what's happening, what the people are trying to survive through right here, and then they play back, you know, and show kind of different scenarios of them in their normal lives. You know, showing that kind of stuff and showing the repercussions of where they're at now is pretty twisted. I love the little clues. The X marks the spot, you know, and they finally figure that out. Sometimes you can see better with your eyes closed. All those little kind of riddles in there are just genius. You know, they're absolutely genius and keep you on your toes, keep you thinking, and keep you interested the whole time.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody else kind of felt the same way, but when I saw the first Saw movie, it kind of gave me Seven vibes a little bit. And Seven is also one of my favorite movies. It just had that grit, you know, as to where in Seven, you were seeing the aftermath. You weren't seeing everything that happened beforehand, as to where with this, you were getting little glimpses of before, and then you were seeing the aftermath. And just some of the traps in this first movie are just, how did they even think of that? Like, how did you even come up with that? And I think that's when everybody was kind of like, wow, this young director, just like, where did this come from? And so it's like you said, Mike, it's really hard to find any gripes with this first movie. It's hard.
The gore throughout too looks freaking phenomenal. I didn't get a chance to look at who did actually the special effects and stuff like that, but throughout this entire series, I mean, seeing these body parts and stuff like that, I can't help but I said it the other day. I was like, man, I would love to have one of those damn props of a leg or an arm, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
I thought I was getting one here, but this didn't work out. But it's close enough, I guess.
Yeah, the only gripe I can think of, and I noticed more on this rewatch, and you guys are going to have to let me know your thoughts on this. The acting, you know, from Adam in the room there, you know, with Dr. Gordon, it was a little bit more shaky for me this time around. I'm like, I don't know. If I had to make a gripe, just the acting performances there with some of that stuff. Did that stick out to anybody as well?
Yeah,
it kind of did. It definitely at times didn't seem very natural. It seemed like very big time just line reading, you know, with no kind of emotions. So yeah, I can see that for sure. It didn't extremely stand out to me, but in the back of my mind, I was like, man, why does it sound like that's just like a play? He's saying words, not really a lot of emotion going in there. But then
if I strip away
go ahead.
If I strip away the nostalgia, then I definitely see the acting being really bad. I never thought that the Carrie, how you say his name, Carrie Ells or whatever. I never thought he was the best actor anyway. Yeah. But of course, Lee Winnell, he's a writer. You know, he's not really an actor anyway. He's brand new to this at the time. And but there's a charm to it. Like I said, a lot of me, I have blinders on because of my nostalgia for it. So I don't really look at the bad acting. But if you strip that away, it's definitely there, no doubt.
Yeah, like now that it's like pointed out, like years later after this, all the fact, like I can see how maybe the acting was a little off, but when we're first seeing it, we're ignoring it because it's like they're in a room together. It's just them two. Tensions are high. There's a dead body in the middle of the floor. You don't know what's going on. So of course you're gonna be a little off. But looking at it now, I'm kind of like, yeah, Carrie Elwes was coming off a little, nah. It wasn't his best, but it was his best, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely doesn't take away from the movie, especially on initial watch. I don't know what time this was me watching this one. It may have been the 8th time by now. So, I mean, for it to take that long for me to even notice it, so that's pretty good on a movie like that. And I'm sure this movie was made for such a small budget. I don't know if you guys know a budget out there for this one, but it had to have been made super cheaply. And what they were able to pull off is outstanding.
I don't know the number by like off the top of my head, but it was very low budget. That's why the movie was only filmed in 2 locations.
Yeah.
And the locations themselves were literally rooms on top of each other. They didn't even leave one building. So,
and I do know it was one of the most profitable horror movies of all times.
It was.
I mean, Saw 2 got greenlighted before it even released.
Yep.
So, you know, it's which is pretty impressive for an independent director, independent film. Pretty big deal. You know, especially at that time, we didn't have a whole lot of stuff coming out around this time. And so this thing hit just at the right time. We needed it, you know, in the horror genre. I thought.
Made things blow up again. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I can remember seeing the case at Blockbuster and walking in as a kid and being like a whole wall of this leg and this foot, you know, like.
Yeah.
All right, let's check into the comments. Let's see who's joining us tonight. We got Huck saying, "Hey, party people, let's get to song." Yes. All right, let's see. Vibes is saying, "How's it going, everyone? I'm excited to see you make your choices. Let the games begin."
That's my youngest son right there. That's what I sing Saw 10 with. What's up, man?
Welcome to the channel. We got my mom in the chat saying, "Hi, everyone. I love the theater." Nice. Hard Copy Blue saying, "Saw was able to become an annual release. I feel like every October in my teenage years, a new Saw came out." Yep. And that was such a smart strategy, right? Like to become the October movie.
Yep.
Oh, brilliant. Hard Copy Blue says, "Saw made everyone ask themselves a simple question. Could you cut your foot off?" Oh, gosh. So tough to watch that. I'm saying the scene where Adam is pretending to be shocked by Lawrence is comically bad, but it's the good kind for sure. Yeah, like this last time I was laughing during that moment, but I'm like, am I mad that I'm laughing? No, you know, it's kind of fun. It's like, it's like, what's going on here?
That's right.
But then I kind of thought about it too, and I'm like, you know what? Though maybe he is brilliant in that moment because as he is in the movie story, I mean, he's not a professional actor in the story. So if somebody did try to act like that, I mean, would it be that bad? I mean, maybe it could be. So maybe it was on purpose, you know?
he definitely deserved the electrocution that he got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw birth the possibility of Hostel being made for sure.
Yep.
And then Saw did come out every fall from 2004 to 2010. Yep. We got Miss Caveman here. Hey, gang, how you doing, Miss Caveman? Miss Caveman? Well, where's Mr. Caveman? Where's he at?
He's never far behind.
That's very true. All right, okay, let's get into now on to Saw 2, just a year after, as we mentioned. All right, Saw 2. Once again, I love this one. I mean, I like all the Saw films, but Saw 2, they were able to take it up to another level. And not only that, we got to see, and this was my favorite part, we got to see now the Jigsaw villain truly, right? Act. We got to see, what was his name? Topher Bell, right?
John. Yeah.
John Kramer.
Yeah, John Kramer, so haunting in this movie. The dialogue scenes he's having with Detective Matthews, right? I think this is where we get to see the most of him, right? And actually full dialogue mode up until Saw X, right? I would say.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah. You get quite a bit in Saw 3 also. But,
Oh, yeah.
Saw 2 and 3. Yeah. Ever after that, he's.
Yeah, just a few little cameo scenes here and
I'm
there.
quotating it until we get there. Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that now. I mean, you're like in this haunted house of horrors, kind of, with all these traps around, and then that twist we get to at the end. Like, I didn't think they were going to be able to top the first twist, but this one, I don't know if it topped it, but it was definitely a great follow-up sequel kind of twist. But I got to hear your guys' thoughts. What's your thoughts? on
I
site.
love that house that they're in. That to me, that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
makes that movie. It put the small scale one room that they had at the beginning, and they just maximized off that. They go from room to room to room, all different kind of things they have to do. A new trap in every single one of them. Everybody knows that needle pit that had everybody cringing with that one. Same thing with a lady put her hand up in that razor blade thing to try to get that. That's another one that's like damn brutal. Yeah, that movie. I love what they did with it. They went just the perfect route.
And you got that nerve agent going through them, so not only do you have the panic of we're trapped, you have the time limit going on, which makes everything ramp up a little bit more.
Yep.
So
Vin, you're 100% right. That needle pit. I feel like the needle pit out of all 10 of these movies, I think that's one of the ones that sticks with me the most. Like, can you
no pun intended.
Like, no pun. Like, and I forget the character's name, but that main guy, the one that everybody hates, the guy, the one who throws Amanda into the pit.
Right.
I just wanted the worst possible thing to happen to him after he threw her in the pit. Like, that was the one character where I was like, I just hope you get the worst game out of all of this. Like, just, can you guys imagine what that felt like? Like, just in it, and then trying to like fish like that trap is probably the most cringe for me out of all of them. But the whole, all of these people having criminal backgrounds, and then having the policeman's son, in this room with all of them, like.
And he framed all of them too. He planted it on every single one of them.
Just like you just feel for this boy who just got put into this situation, like, for no reason at all, other than the fact that he's this cop's son. Like,
paying for his father's sins.
He tells him he'll be safe. Don't worry. If you just wait, he'll be safe. And
right. And he's watching the second time. You pick up on that stuff.
You're like, you messed up. Yeah.
I agree with Mike on this one. The twist on that one, like when that safe door opened, I was like, again, I had like a reboot moment where I was like, there's no fucking. And there it was. Like Pops just said, he will be safe. He will be safe. But nobody did that. So.
Oh my goodness. And yeah, I mean, it was so wild, those traps, because it's like when that, the buff guy, right, who was causing all those issues in the house, I'm like, once you found out the info about the stuff on the back of the neck, like, you could have easily worked together with everybody and, like, find a lot of these things and got mostly everybody else left there cured or, something. I'm like, why isn't anybody working together here? Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's the same reason that in horror movies they say, let's split up. Because
hey, and they did split up in the house at a couple moments, actually. They
never a good idea.
And then another thing I really liked about this one was the return of Amanda as an actual player. So, finding out that she wasn't living her life, as she had learned a lesson the first time. Even he was kind of like, even you're not safe, even though you've beat this once before. So even I was like, oh, damn, we got repeat offenders. Like,
right.
And then you find out the twist. So it's like, was she actually, or was the whole time this just a ploy to make you think that, she was one of them?
Yeah.
Or she could be in the game the whole time and watch from the inside,
And it's funny too, like they kind of redo a similar ending to the first one, right? Because, Detective Matthews end up there in the same room at the end, and then she closes the door, game over. Yeah. And you're like, man, you're doing like the exact same ending, but because it was so fresh with the twist of having now Amanda have that reveal there, it was like, it just worked perfectly. It was like perfect timing on everything.
But they keep retrying it. They tried it in 4, then they tried it in Jigsaw.
It went on a little too long. We'll get to that.
They keep going with it, like.
Yeah, it works a couple times for sure, but eventually,
words will be said, yes, later on.
All right, so we do got caveman movies and more in here. Hey there, everyone! Please hit the like button. Oh, thank you, caveman. I really appreciate that. Definitely hit that like button. Hard copy saying the needle pit still has not left my mind, especially because when she comes out of there, she still has the needles in her, and she's like just laying there for a while. You're like, oh my gosh. Vibes. Oh yes, there will be blood. Great lines. There's so many good Jigsaw lines in that one. The yellow tinge of the movie makes it all the more unsettling, especially the needle pit. That's a good point. Yeah, how the movies have been filmed up to that point, perfect. It just gives that, like you were saying, Caprice, that gritty kind of feel to it.
Yeah, there's like a greenish, yellowish tint in that whole movie that really stands out. It really makes it pop in its own way.
Vibes. Amanda didn't plan on getting thrown into the needle pit, so it makes you wonder which trap she planned on doing, because they all had to do one, right? That's a good point. I never even thought about that.
That's true.
Huh. But Amanda played it off though, like she was just going with. She was dedicated to it. Like she did not falter on that. She kept undercover for sure. Let's see.
I took a few notes here. One interesting thing about the second one is this was the in the U.S. and Canada, this is the highest grossing Saw film.
Wow.
Yeah. It took approximately 120,000 syringes to complete the needle pit trap.
Damn.
And they had to recreate the bathroom set for Saw 2. They didn't use the same set. So just a few little interesting tidbits I wrote down.
That's what, 120,000 needles. Oh my goodness.
Crazy.
I wonder what they said when they ordered all the needles. They're like, maybe 120,000 of them. Oh my gosh. Yeah, such a good movie, such a good sequel. And I can see why it did so well. I mean, you have the hype of the first one. Now they know about Saw movies out there. And it was so good, too. Oh. All right, so now we're on to Saw 3, right? Comes out right after the year after that. So 2006, Saw 3. All right. What do you guys think of Saw 3? I'll let you all start on this one.
I like Saw 3 also, man. That rip, that one where she gets her chest ripped open like that with the acid up above, man, that shit looks brutal. That looks, it's almost kind of tough to watch to see that part right there, to be honest. That's pretty raw. So yeah, I feel like they keep getting gorier and gorier as they go by. And this one I believe is an awesome entry as well. I don't have too many problems with it. At first I was a little bit confused because I was just like, why they're being put in these positions where they can't even win, but then towards the end it starts, making sense and everything. Like that. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, 2 and 3 are pretty close to me, whatever is being right there as far as which one I like the best. I think 3 is a great entry. I have a good time with it. Really good traps. The lady getting frozen. The nude woman in the room, and she's alive, but you see the final shot when she just iced over. Yeah, and it's a great shot.
Brutal.
I really love 3 because of the dynamic between Amanda and the doctor, and actually seeing how frail Jigsaw is at this point because of his cancer. And so seeing this man doing all these things, and you're looking at him and you're like, he's dying on a table. How is all this being done? He's having these migraine pains and all this stuff, and then you literally have Amanda getting jealous of the doctor who's trying to save him. And you're kind of like, she's trying to save him. There's nothing to be jealous of. But, then like halfway through the movie, you see things like Jigsaw, like grabbing her hand and dismissing Amanda, telling her she's not needed. And then kind of finding out later that all of this was just also not just a test for the doctor and her husband, but also for Amanda.
Yeah.
And so Amanda has come full circle in all 3 of these movies, and just test after test after test, but also being a part of it. And so I actually really love this entry the most, because you do get to see a little bit more of the dynamic between Jigsaw and Amanda, on top of some also really cool traps.
And it was great having her shotgun necklace, whatever you want to call it, being tied to his heart monitor. There it is again, just like the nerve agent too. You got that added little level to keep you going the whole time. There's a huge risk.
My favorite line in that was, "You're not understanding that if he dies, you die." And so it's kind of like, damn, like I think she says at one point, "I'm not in an emergency hospital if he, I'm not prepared for this." And Amanda is crying, and she's like, "Well, what do you need?" Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
shit. Like,
And the entire lesson for the husband was, forgiveness.
Yeah.
And when he came in that room, the simple fact he didn't learn his lesson is what ultimately killed his wife.
Yep.
He was
So,
my least part, though. I feel like there were so many times when he could have just hurried up, done things better, and his character's just like almost like lazy throughout the whole movie, and you kind of feel that, and you're like, come on, do it, and nothing, and you're like,
and I think the nastiest, I think the nastiest trap was the pigs.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That was the nastiest trap for me. Whenever that guy's just covered, it's bad.
Yeah. And then the part that was tied to that though too is that he had to hit that incinerator on all the things that reminded him of his kid. It's like, man, that's tough. Like that is a hard thing to do, even if you are trying to forgive somebody. That was like torture in itself right there as well.
And the fact that like as that was going on, the pigs started out super fresh and dead, and as it got further on, they just got like more decayed and gross.
But I mean, this movie had so many twists too. It just didn't have that one twist. Like when you find out that they were married, like that was the husband and the wife. I was shocked by that. I'm like, really? What? Because I mean, they set it up at the beginning. She's with that other guy. You would assume that was her husband. That just shocked me in itself. But then you find out, okay, it was a whole trap for Amanda and that thing. Like that was shocking. And then you find out at the end, though, that the games are going to continue. So even if, he's gone, it's going to play out. Oh, my. It's like so many twists in one.
One thing we didn't mention was the rack. I think the rack is the one of the most memorable.
Brutal.
I mean, that thing there you can feel the pain. I mean, I can't look at it without turning my head. It's so rough. The first bone break, and then it's coming, then you see the head turn around. It's rough.
Yeah, like that was so brutal. I'm like, even if he is able to save the person in enough time, like he's still gonna be completely messed up.
Yeah,
pretty much everywhere. I'm like, oh my gosh, that one was brutal.
Or the chains, all the guy when they start the movie with all the chains, with all this, he's like all the
things. See, that's another one.
One of Achilles is the worst. It's like, oh man.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so brutal. All right, let's see who's in here. We got Hagen saying, "What up, guys? What's up, Hagen?
What's up, Hagen?"
Vibe saying the second one was directed by Darren Lynn Bozeman, who also made Saw 3 and Spiral. All three are at the top of my list. See, I didn't even know he made Spiral. I didn't even pick up on that. That's a cool fact. We got Craig here. Hi, Mike. Just dropping by to help the channel. Well, thank you, Craig, for being here. I appreciate it.
Craig?
Vibe saying Saw 3 has some of the best traps too. Yep. The limb crank, the freezer water spray, the shotgun, the heart monitor, and all great. Oh, and I feel really bad for the freezer water one too, because it's like, yeah, she was involved, but she was like a witness. But you know what I mean? Like it seemed really extreme for her. But
and that one he almost got her out too. He almost, and literally when he turned around, like he had gotten the key, had burned his safe, and he was ready. He was ready to get her out, and then she was just frozen over from that last spray. And just like defeated, just like, well, okay, like.
Oh, and then that reminds me of the one with the crank, how the shotgun with the judge, right? How the judge gets off, even though he saves the judge with the pig pit.
Yeah.
This judge still doesn't end up living, right? I'm like, Judge, why are you right there? Like, just move. I thought that part was like, okay. But yeah, they really didn't want anybody to live in that scenario.
Exactly.
Vibe saying an interesting thing about Saw 3 is that there's a video game called Dead by Daylight that has an entire map dedicated to the set pieces of it as well as iconic. Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
I love Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight is so fun. One of my favorite
games. One part of the map with a freezer and a frozen girl in the middle. Oh my god.
That's cool.
That's rough.
All right, so now we are on to just another year after Saw 4. All right, so Saw 4, and you know what? I quite like Saw 4. It does go a little bit downhill after 3 for me. Like I'm like 1, 2, 3, so good, perfect trilogy. But I do like with Saw 4 how the stories get connected. So Saw 4 and 3 are going on at the same time. That was my favorite part of the whole thing. But I mean, what do you guys think of Saw 4?
That is something that I picked up on this time more than any of the last watches. This time, because we were doing the stream, where I really took notes and really paid attention. Instead of just after watching them so many times, you're there for the traps. Let's be honest. But this time I really sit down and paid attention to the story and the way they kind of tied everything together with 4, 5, and 6, not to get ahead of ourselves. I enjoy that the most about these 3 films this time around. So,
there's parts in these this movie and then the next one that just literally feels like a made for TV, like NCIS, like literally the way they're filmed. That kind of low budget, just crime detective thing. Just literally felt like a made for TV movie with lots of gore for some reason.
It's funny you say that because I was thinking the whole time that actor's name that plays Hoffman, I'm gonna say it wrong, probably Costas Mandalore or whatever. He seems like a soap opera star reject.
Yeah, he is.
Had a chance to make some
Gilmore Girls.
I've never seen him in anything else but these movies, and he's not a great actor. But I didn't mind him as much this time around. But usually he's my least favorite part.
He was on Gilmore Girls for like 8 seasons, and then he's in Saul out of nowhere, and you're like, "Are you sure he's supposed to be in this type of movie?" Like
he did good with getting these movies though, because I think he ended up being, and probably more screen time than even John Kramer's, right?
And 4, 5, and 6,
screen
sure.
time wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed 4. For me, 4 is kind of where it started to go a little bit downhill. So as where it went down to 3 for you story wise, 4 is kind of where it started for me. 4 has a completely different look than any of the Saw movies, so it kind of contradicts my statement from earlier where it was like that dirty, gritty, clear-cut kind of shots. These ones were fully saturated. Every room had a different color. There was just different, color combinations coming at you with different rooms. It still had that sweaty, gritty, dirty look to it, but you were getting full-blown different colors thrown at you from every direction. And the fact that this movie, 3 and 4, were happening at the same time, it really did have kind of a lot going on for me, but the story still made a lot of sense. I also really loved the traps in this one, probably a little bit more than 3. These traps were a little bit more practical. Like, I don't want to use the word practical, but it kind of is. It feels like anybody could have made these traps, not just Jigsaw or Amanda. Like, these ones were more like, like Vin said and Pop said, that it was like like an NCIS crime scene. Like, it felt like a Law and Order SVU taping a little bit, especially for the one guy who was, doing bad things with women. Like, that was a total Law and Order SVU scene for me. So I agree with that completely. The only gripe that I have with this movie is, like I said, there was just a lot going on. There was a lot going on, but story-wise, how it was filmed, the look of it all, everything was pretty great for this one. So this one is kind of where I'm like, all right, this is where the really awesome Saws kind of end and everything starts slowing down.
Yeah.
This is definitely where it starts going down for me too. I just feel like they start like thinking too much into putting plot into it and connecting things together that sometimes feel a little bit outlandish, but they do it just so it kind of all works together so they can make it a whatever. But I mean, it's still entertaining for what it is. I love the gore in it. Love part of the story into it. But yeah, it does start getting a lot going on to where it kind of seems confusing.
Yeah, you can tell at this point they were making money and they were doing anything and everything they could to keep this thing going. And I'm glad they did, because I enjoy all the Saw films for some reason.
Yeah,
not for some reason, but there's always a reason for me to like each Saw film. Yeah. So I'm glad they did continue it for 10 films. But you can tell at this point they're really having to go deep to keep this thing going.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because they went like even into like they'd show you like things about Jigsaw and how like he had a wife and things that happened with his children, and then like the whole color palette when they went into the past was like all black and gray, and they kind of tried to give you this weird, like he said, like an SUV type of like a Law and Order vibe, and I kind of feel like they kept that through also 5 and 6 a little bit, where you know, you were like, man, like, am I watching 1 again without the quality? You know, like no Danny Glover, you know.
Yeah, and this one I really did feel the, you know, missing the Jigsaw character in there, right? Missing Amanda in there, because now we have this new main villain with Detective Hoffman. And I'm like, yeah, he's okay, but I prefer the other two. So you kind of feel that a little bit too. And then this is the one where they introduced the wife, right? Is that this one, or did they
keep showing her?
Okay.
Yeah,
you get more of the story with this one of her.
Yeah, so
Like
you
the
could tell
past
they're
of
really
her.
trying to extend it. They're like, okay, let's put the wife in here so we can
What was her name?
keep
Jill
that going.
Tuck, right?
Get more
That was the
threads
name of it,
going
Jill
down.
Tuck.
Yeah, down the storyline over there.
But then is this the one where her belly gets hit by the door or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he gets even more mad, and you're like, oh, he did this because of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fucked up, man. It's like, damn. That's
That one sticks with me. I don't know. It's just because of how harsh it is, you know.
Yeah. And then you find out what happens to Eric Matthews. Matthews, whatever. And then, of course, what happens to him with those two big old blocks of ice that comes down. I mean, that is just.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. At least it happened quick. He didn't feel it. It was over with quick.
I felt so bad for Eric Matthews, though. I mean, he was just like, I don't want to play anymore. Like, I'm done with this.
He's been there for so long, getting through
He's
stuff.
just hanging there, just head down, just like, fuck, like what's gonna happen regardless. And then when the ice was melting, and you just kind of felt bad for him at the end, but at the same time, you're kind of like, I'm glad he's finally gone. Like.
Yeah, because they kept him the longest, right? It was like 6 months. It's like, oh my gosh, like, oh,
his foot in that metal boot, all looking like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What is it? Next Generation. What's his name?
All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, yeah, I think we're caught up there on the comments. All right, now we're getting into, well, if that started to decline in quality, I think Saw 5 took a little bit of a nosedive as well. So Saw 5. Well, okay. Let me start with maybe some positives here, if I can think of any. I will say, okay, I think it's probably the 4th or 5th time I've watched it now, and I think I enjoyed it more on this watch, just a little bit more. But it feels way different than a lot of the other Saw movies. It's really like, okay, this guy is trying to find the paperwork right and files that try to prove this guy is Jigsaw and all that, which it just changes the whole tone of the movie. It's very weird. But when you get in the, I don't know. Never mind. It's not so good. I'm trying to think of positives here. Do you guys got any positives on this
I
film?
love that you're trying to be positive about it.
I can be positive about 5. I think 4, 5, and 6, this watch around, I like it so much, whatever I say so much. I like it more than I did, and it's higher on my ranking. I'm trying not to spoil that part yet. But I like 4, 5, and 6 because I like the way when I'm really paid attention to the story this time, instead of just waiting for the next trap. I like the way they tied everything in. And then it's like every movie they kind of you kind of see a behind the scenes about how this was set up in the first 3 or whatever. And so I enjoyed 4, 5, and 6 for that aspect. And I do understand that I'm with you guys. 4 is where it started falling off for me as well. But I did enjoy 4, 5, and 6 a lot more, probably the most I ever have with this rewatch, because I was paying so much attention, taking notes, stuff like that. And I really started, piecing all this stuff together, and it made me enjoy 4, 5, and 6 more than I did the last few times I watched it. So there's a positive, I guess.
I think I like the end when he goes in that coffin and then the walls start closing on the guy and it just splats him everywhere. I thought that was
because
cool.
he made the mistake and he was supposed to switch.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't want to be in there, and doesn't realize the trap isn't what he thought it was, and now he's fucked.
That was a way out for him. Yep. Yeah, that was a pretty cool twist right there too, because he thought he got him, and then he looks at him. It's like basically waving at him as he's fucking gonna die. So that was a cool twist.
And 5 is the first one in the franchise where somebody doesn't say game over at the end of the movie.
And I was like, you thought they would have learned by then. It's like whoever tries to go after the Jigsaw killer, like it's not going to work out well, you know. It's like through your research, you should have realized this, but he still keeps going. It's like,
and one thing that I noticed watching these films, when you walk into a room, if you're in a Saw movie, hold the door. How many times does somebody walk in the door slams, and they go, "Oh no, the door!"
Get a door
it's happened at least a
there or
dozen times through the franchise. Hold the door when you walk in a room every time.
Oh. All right. So yeah, five, a little bit of a low point, but that's okay. We kind of get a little bit of a comeback here with Saw 6. I did like Saw 6 more than 5. I will say that. I think what stood out with Saw 6 for me was how realistic it was with all the health insurance stuff. I thought that was fascinating, and how they brought back John Kramer with all of it and tied it back into his condition he had. And just going after, the health insurance companies out there and shedding a light on all that, because I'm like, that is so true. That is all like very, very real stuff happening in the world right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, every time I rewatch 6, I even like it a little bit more just because
I was rooting against the insurance people. Just so you know, I was rooting against everyone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so, of course. Yep.
Yeah, they were the bad guys in this movie, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, they were awful. Oh my gosh.
Okay. This is where they all kind of start sounding like the same. So 6 is Final Chapter, yes, with Chester Bennington. Chester Bennington's in it.
That was 3D one.
That's 3D.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Part 7's the Final Chapter.
Got yeah. See, at this point, they all kind of, for me at least, they all kind of intertwine with themselves, and there's no difference. But I agree with Mike. Like this one is very relevant to what a lot of people, go through with the insurance companies and big pharma and all that stuff. So this movie took a very heavy hit that like a lot of the other ones didn't. It was very personal to a lot of people. This one just fell a tiny little bit short for me as a Saw movie.
Yeah, definitely. I did like the ending though. I did like the ending where it was like the guy finds out, he's like, oh, this isn't my game. Right. And then the mom and the kid have to decide, right, if he lives or die. And the mom's like, oh, I can't do it. So they're like, oh, okay, is he going to be okay? And the kid's like, no, you killed my dad.
Yeah, you kind of think through the whole movie, the mom and the dad, or the mom and the kid, is the insurance guy's family. And then you realize the guy that he ultimately killed, whatever.
Yeah.
Not proving his policy.
Another person was the sister, right? So I kind of like the ending. I thought the ending was better here than Saw 5. So I thought that was a little bit of a step up. Yeah, good social commentary in there. I'm trying to think if there's any other highlights here in
Hoffman at the end when he survives the bear trap that the wife puts on. Because he puts it in the window and he rips his face off. That was pretty good.
The cheek meat just kind of hanging there. It's rough.
Yeah. And that's how they ended, him just like hanging.
Yeah. And 6 was also the lowest grossing Saw film for those that care about that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I like Saw 6 overall. I do like it. So
yeah,
still pretty good. All right. But then we got to take another nosedive here. But let's see the comments first before we get to the next one. Vibe saying Hodor would survive all these movies.
Hold the door.
Vibe says, I really like the ending Hoffman reverse bear trap scene. I was so it was so satisfying to see him have to deal with an unfair trap and then so heartbreaking he survived. Right? You're like, man, they're keeping this person around more.
I know. I think he's like one of the longest running characters besides Amanda.
I can't stand him too.
I know. You just hate it. You just hate it. You're just like, can you just go already?
Exactly.
I personally think that trap should have got him, and 7 should have never happened. Yeah. No, I'm glad we got stuff after 7, but I think 7 should have never happened. 7's my least favorite.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that one right now.
So,
but now I'm thinking about the Jill stuff, right, and the wife stuff. I'm like, why is she still carrying out Jigsaw stuff though? I never made that connection. Did you guys ever get that part? Like, why is she still on board with doing the Jigsaw work? I don't know if that was ever made super clear at all.
Yeah,
because she lost the kid also. she also had a kid get lost, and so I think he used that as motivation for her to get revenge. You know, to kind of finish out what he started. I think.
Yeah.
I think that was maybe the driving force for her.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if she was like manipulated or if something like how you were just saying, Pops. Because remember when she got that chest, and then she like reaches down and she's had a fucking necklace with the key the whole time. It's like, what in the world? Like, why are you wearing that this whole time if you're not involved?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that was the part I was questioning. I'm like, what? And then why
Well, in
would
7
she
it shows when
wanna
he gave
go
it to
after
her.
Hoffman?
You know, it shows when he gave it to her and 7 when they had the flashback.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm like, well, what's her beef with Detective Hoffman, though?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get. Like, I know obviously John Kramer, had issues, but yeah, that's where the story starts to, unravel just a little bit there. It's we're seeing some plot holes now. All right, but I know Pop's your favorite right here with let's get to Saw 3D.
Is this the one that starts off where they're actually outside and they're in the glass?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. That was actually pretty funny, that one.
But the acting was awful in there.
So bad.
Just like, oh man, no, I really like you. And then the other guy would be with he's like, no, I like you. And then they're all like, oh, just let her.
Yeah.
First she's like, kill him, and then she tells the other one, kill him. It's like, what? But it's funny that it's out in the open though now, and like, for people to see and people are recording. So that kind of put a interesting kind of aspect on it, just because it was different from all the other ones of placement of where this is. So that kind of had me entertained a little bit.
Well, and I thought they were gonna do more with that. Like, I thought they were gonna all be like public display kind of traps, but it was just that first one that was. So I thought that was weird. And then I don't know. The 3, and I don't know. Did you guys ever see this one in 3D? Like, okay, was the 3D worth it at all? Because
It was horrible.
They were really.
I don't remember, so that's probably gonna say no. I don't remember that being mind blown by
And he
no
throws the saw, and I just remember I'm walking out now. Like,
yeah, it was a lot of just blood splatter and things like that they made happen like that, So,
but the guy, whatever that said that he was in a trap and lied and did the whole book thing, got famous for being a Saw survivor, but he really wasn't. This whole movie being based around him learning his lesson, I just didn't care.
Yeah,
it seemed very thin to me, very thin.
Now I'm remembering why I hate this movie so much. Okay, bringing back Dr. Gordon. That could have been a cool moment, but it was executed terribly. Like, it gave all the signs that you knew Dr. Gordon was a part of all the Jigsaw stuff. There was no surprise to it. Like, I mean, he already shows up acting sketchy at the kind of their meeting they were having, right? The Saw survivors. And he's like, does that weird speech at the end, is like clapping for like, okay, something's off with that guy. He's part of all the Jigsaw stuff. Where they could have just not mentioned him at all, not mentioned him in the trailers, and like save him for an ending moment. That could have been great, but they totally just way showed it ahead. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Just
So
ruined it.
the saving, I mean, I don't want to say the saving grace of this movie for me was the fact that Dr. Gordon did come back. Because it's like a full circle thing, I was so excited to see him, like, oh my God, like, because what happened to him after the fact. Did he get out? Did he not get out? Did he make it? You don't know. And then, seeing him and then finding out that he was a part of it all along, that could have been such an impactful ending. It could have been a total wow moment, but I feel like it was just written in the wrong way, and there was just no lackluster to it. Like, you find out and you're just watching it and you're kind of like, oh, really?
If this was going to truly be the final chapter of the franchise, they should have took the guy that did the guy that did all the book stuff, whatever, get him out of the movie completely and make it all about Dr. Gordon. Yeah, make this final movie Dr. Gordon's, his wraparound story, and make that be the 7. That's what they should have done. Then just ended it. Of course, reboot it later. That's fine.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Because they had some cool tie-ins with Dr. Gordon, showing the past traps he was involved in. Like, if they all did that, and a quick montage at the end, and had that big surprise moment, I'm like, oh, that would have been so good. But total letdown. And then Jill's acting wasn't that great in here. Like a lot of the acting performances stuck out in here as really phoned in and very low level kind of
Very soap opera. Very soap opera, I thought.
Yep.
Yeah.
Made for TV.
Yep. Oh my god. That's why I'm surprised, Pop, you said Saw 6 made less than this one. I'm like, I don't Saw 3D made more. Oh my god.
Well, you have the final chapter, you have the 3D thing going with it. So more people wanted to check that out, you know. But this is gonna be the last Saw movie and this is how it's gonna end. You know, so you have all that going for it.
Yeah, I think it made a little bit more just for the fact that, you know, Gordon was promised in this one. So everyone was like, oh my God, you know, they probably wanted to run and see what was going on with Dr. Gordon. But I think that might be the only reason why I didn't see this one in the theater.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I saw it in theaters. Maybe not. Yeah. I don't think I did see it in theaters. Man, yeah, this was rough. That was definitely a very low point for the Saw franchise. Like, how can they end it this way? Is this really the ending? All right, let's see. We got Not a Worm. Hello, Not a Worm. Well, welcome to the channel. First time I think I'm seeing you here, so welcome to the community. Vibe saying the back skin ripping off the guy glued in the car. Brutal. Yeah, that was really gross.
Oh, yeah.
That's when finally we hit the car and he gets thrown out. Oh,
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, it was like a whole chain of events right there. Oh my god. Yeah. All right, let's get into now. And I guess this one was definitely a comeback, but we had to wait a long time for it, right? Jigsaw 2017, 7 years. 7 years.
That's crazy.
I know, and it didn't even feel that long, right? Like I knew it had been some time, but 7 years kind of shocked me when I look back at it.
After that huge run they had, man, they waited 7 years to come out. That's insane.
Yeah. I remember seeing that one. And I remember liking it a lot more the first time more than I've watched it more recently. Because I feel like they stuck a lot of things together that need to be there. The whole idea of here's another person that worked with Jigsaw. You're just kind of like,
bird down on
I need something new. I need something new.
Yeah, I for some reason like this one way more than I did before. I actually enjoyed this one quite a bit. I like this is the one, right, that they had the buckets on their head and they were pulled by the chief and stuff. Yeah. I thought this one was pretty interesting, man. I like that trap. You know how they were figuring different things out with giving the bloods. You know, so they had to saw to give the blood. Then just how quickly people like really started turning on each other on that one. Yeah.
I enjoyed this one too. I just think I kind of agree with Rob. Whatever. I think that you know, another person that's tied into you know the Saul character. Yeah. It's like, okay, this feels a little bit like, you know, you guys are just trying to get this thing going again. I enjoyed it watching it this last time. I liked the film. I just feel like it wasn't the best way they could have brought it back, in my opinion. But overall, the traps were good. It's an enjoyable film, you know.
I agree with all of you on this one. It was a big chunk of time to wait for this movie. You know, it's 10 years after the death of John Kramer, you know, and that opening scene, you're going in with these two policemen, finding this guy in the middle of his game, you know, saying, I have to hit the button. So it kind of gets your heart pumped up. You're just like, oh, we're at it again. Like we got this going. But then it had its great moments and then it had its rough moments like as well. You know, it's based in the past and in the current, so you're kind of going back and forth, but you know, to see all these original like the girl who was, I forget her name and I always feel bad about that, but the one girl who would make replicas of all the Jigsaw traps, you know, and then you would see traps that you didn't see in the first one that were intended for, you know, for that. Like that was super cool to me. I really liked that idea and that concept for that. And I really liked that this was more of kind of like a policeman, like whodunit movie. Like I wish they had done a little bit different things with it, but watching it again for this, I actually liked it a little bit more than I did the first time. And so looking for details and looking for things that maybe I wasn't looking for before, Like I actually really thoroughly enjoyed it watching it the second time around, because I only watched Jigsaw once, and that, I was kind of like, I wasn't completely won over by it then, but I actually really enjoyed watching it this time, and I found more things about it that I liked than before.
Yeah, I think you all like this one way more than me. There's like only two things I like about this one. The opening is quite good, and then I also like when they do get to that the shotgun moment and how that plays out. Because you get to see John Kramer again, and he gets a little bit more dialogue, so it's cool to see John Kramer again. But that was about it for me. To me, I'm like, okay, I feel like, yeah, that doctor is sketchy and he's going to be part of the Jigsaw thing again. Like, he's just giving off that vibe. So right away, I'm like, yeah, it's probably him.
Yeah.
And then the whole tone of the movie, I felt this one got more horror comedy. Like, I felt like we started to get a little bit horror comedy in 3D, but this one really got some goofy moments, right? Like, even in the countdown I just played, where it was like, when the Saw doll comes in on the bike, like, oh, that was creepy, right? Like, meant to be a comedic moment, but I'm like, that's not what I liked about Saw. I liked Saw being more serious, You get, I mean, you compare this one to the first 3 Saw films, you're like, different tone. We went from pure like horror, thriller, whatever you want to call it, to definitely horror comedy now.
If you detach this from the series, make it its own horror movie, take out the John Kramer stuff, and just make this another horror movie, I think I would have liked it more. But me trying to look at this as a Saw film, it just kind of, I don't know, it didn't work as much as I. This is only the second time I watched it, and it stayed about the same for me. First time, the second watch.
And it felt so convoluted. Once again, you guys mentioned it being in the present and the past, but he was like, oh, but instead of having 5 people, we only use 3 people this time. It was like over-explaining, complicated, and then the very ending with, the lasers and stuff, even though that was kind of cool to see, how that laser trap played out, was just like, I don't know. By this time, I'm just like, I feel like we've seen it all before. We've seen it done better before. This feels very just...
And he pulled an Amanda too, where like that guy couldn't escape that trap once that was like. And that was the other thing, is like you're doing the same thing. Maybe it would have been better if like people could actually escape the traps, and then you're like, all right, this is a real model after Jigsaw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got a new like Detective Hoffman with this guy. Yeah. All right, let's check in the comments here. Let's see. Vibe saying they were taking the Scream approach and running with it. A new Prodigy doing the same things as we've seen before, but come back to because of the twist. And don't get me wrong, I love both. I know it works for me in Scream though, and here not as much.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. You can only do movies so many times and see the same thing over and over for so many movies before you're kind of just like, can we see something different at this point? Like. Like I think all of us have already said, after 3 and 4, they've all kind of started to, you kind of start to fall flat. And I felt like the same thing kind of happened with the Scream movies as well, but that's another conversation.
Yep.
All right. So, well, after Jigsaw, we don't have to wait as long, but we still got to wait a little bit. We go 2021 with Spiral from the Book of Saw, which I don't know if they were trying to play this one as not a part of the main franchise, right? I mean, they said from the Book of Saw, so it's like its own separate thing. I don't know. That title always kind of confused me. But I think you guys like this one quite a bit, if I'm remembering from some of your rankings out there. How'd you guys feel about Spiral?
From what I remember, wasn't it actually Chris Rock that pitched the idea to the people to make this movie? So
they were gonna do like a few of them, but it didn't do well enough.
That's crazy too, because I really enjoyed this one, man. I love the route that they went. I love the copycat thing. I love the tone of it. I love Chris Rock's performance in it. Actually, I was watching. I was like, holy shit, he's actually doing pretty fucking great job at doing this role. I thought personally, and then everything that plays about it. I really enjoyed this one a lot. I think this is my second viewing of it, and I was kind of blown away. I actually really liked it a lot.
Yeah, this was my second viewing of it, and it went. I'm not going to say where it ranks up, but I like it a lot, and I liked it a lot more on the second watch. Whatever. Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson's back and forth in this movie is fantastic. Chris Rock was acting his ass off in this movie, acting like I've never seen him act before. And you could tell this was kind of a passion project for him, and I think he knocked it out of the park. Watching it the second time. If it was here, it's not here on the second watch. So we'll just leave it there for now. But
Yep.
man, I loved it. I love the guy's voice. The first time around, I was kind of disappointed we didn't get the puppet, but this time around, the puppet worked. The voice, every time they had the tape recorder, the guy's voice this time was fantastic and super creepy to me.
Really?
Worked this time around.
Oh my goodness!
The other way around. I don't like
I
it.
loved it, man. For whatever reason, this watch, it was great, man.
I couldn't stand it.
I even loved the puppet.
That's all. The first time I watched it. This time around, for some reason, it just worked.
Same.
I don't know why.
I agree. I'm the same way, man. And the freaking puppet too, the pig puppet. That thing looks awesome, man. I want one of those things. It looks so cool, man. That
Mr. Snuggle.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Spiral 2. For some reason, a lot of people don't, and I think it's because they're just like, oh, it's not a Saw movie, and they're looking at the things of like Billy's not in it. John Kramer's not in it. This is kind of its own thing, but that's the beauty of it. It's its own thing, and you could watch it as a solo movie, and it could work. You could watch it as a Saw movie, and it still worked.
Yeah.
And everything that Pops and Vin and Rob just said is 100% correct. Like Chris Rock, Max Miniglia, Samuel L. Jackson, they went hard in this movie, and you could tell. They're good in it. I gotta disagree with the little voice thing though. That was one of the things that hurt me. I was kind of just like this. It was very monotone for me, and it didn't really inflict that kind of fear that the Billy voice does. It didn't have the same effect. But I agree with Zen. I love Mr. Snuggles. And then the twist in this movie is very good. It was very good. I didn't really expect that much, but it was very good. And to have the shush thing happen, between Chris Rock in the beginning with the child, to have it come and be his partner, and after he killed his father, he does the same thing. I was kind of like, it's come back. Like that Saw magic has come back, even though this isn't officially a Saw movie. Like it still has that power behind it, and I don't know why. It's kind of brushed off a little bit, because it's actually a very great film.
It's got some problems. See, I find it to be a lot like Seven. Like that's what I look at it as. But then my issues are like the scene where you see the guy that's the killer in the end supposed to die. It's very like flash past it. So you do think to yourself a little bit, could he be the killer? I thought that in the theater. I'm like, why didn't they show him die fully? They just showed like his skin being peeled quick. And this had the least amount of traps, definitely, for any of the movies.
Yeah.
And that upset me a little bit. But then the ending, like, I wanted more. I wanted another movie, because the way that he's like basically waving goodbye to Chris Rock, like, I win, see you later. And you're like, give me more. And then we didn't get that. So it kind of left that stale taste in my mouth, because I do enjoy this one, but it's mostly for the acting, Chris Rock, because it lacks a lot of the stuff that the other Saws did give you, which they didn't give you a great like the mystery and like the that Seven style. They lacked in that.
Well, it's funny you say Seven, because one thing that I read was that two movies that Chris Rock really got inspired by for this movie was 7 and 48 Hours.
Okay.
The Eddie Murphy movie. That's the two movies that kind of was in his mind as he was making this, he said.
That's awesome.
So I thought it was interesting. I definitely see the 7 vibe. So.
I didn't really like the guy that is the new Jigsaw, though. I kind of wish, I don't know why, but I kind of wish they would have chosen a different actor. For some reason, his look just didn't fit that character, I felt like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie was totally a mixed bag for me. I think you guys like this one way more than me. But you guys were giving some good positives. I agree. Chris Rock, fantastic in the movie. And I love how he was able to incorporate comedy into the movie, but naturally, very naturally, he was just able to kind of improvise with some of it. Like the beginning is so funny when he's talking about the Forrest Gump stuff. I was laughing hysterically with oh my gosh.
So how about when he was acting like the crackhead though too, trying to get the from New Jack City.
Yeah, this is New Jack City stuff.
Yeah.
He was so good.
It's funny to me, but you guys are having a problem with the voice, because I was the same exact way the first watch. I walked out of the theater going, the voice just didn't work for me. I don't know what it is, but this time around it was completely different. about the third or fourth time it played it, I kind of dug it.
I know
it.
it did.
It's weird.
Oh gosh,
I'm right there with you, Pops. Same thing.
Man.
Because it's not Billy the Puppet or whatever. It's not Jigsaw. It's a copycat.
Yep.
And this is his take on kind of doing the copycat thing, and that's his voice. That's what he went with, and using the pig, not because it's the year of the pig like John Kramer did. It's because it's representing the cops. And I just think that voice works for who the killer ended up being. Yeah. And I think for what he was doing for this movie, it works. It worked for me anyway. The second time around, a lot more than the first time.
You know what? This would almost have worked better for me if it wasn't a Saw movie at all. Like if it didn't have a Saw title to it, I think I would have liked it a little bit more because you're expecting that certain Saw voice, you don't get it, right? You're expecting certain things, very Saw things, and you don't get them here. So if it was its own thing, I think I would have appreciated it a little bit more because the ending underwhelmed me, right? The new villain underwhelmed me. So, I mean, there's some highlights in here. I do kind of like how it's differently filmed, right? It's in like summertime, and you can see how the director of photography like showed that. That was cool. But it's so different. It's so disconnected from Saw for me. So I don't know.
So this is the first one where John Kramer's hand's not in it at all.
Yeah,
John Kramer has nothing to do with any of these kills.
And that was missing for me too. I would have loved just one kind of cameo or scene in there, some kind of backstory with, because I mean, when you think Saw, you do think John Kramer, even if he's just in it a little bit. So, like the Saw things I was really looking for, especially when this one comes out, 4 years later after Jigsaw, you miss those things. So I'm like, oh.
So I feel like this one, because it was such a slower pace. And like Rob said, there wasn't as many traps in this one. Things that make that iconic, Saw, outline, it was kind of missing from this one. But I also feel like that's what also made it great, because it was, like I said before, it could work on its own and it can work as a prequel, sequel, whatever you want to call it. It's just kind of its own thing. But I guess that's kind of like where people like you might have such like a mixed bag of emotions on it. Like, where do I fall with it? And that's understandable. Like, I get it.
All right, let's check into the chat here. Let's see. We got a vibe saying, I need Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson to star in Crystal Lake from the book of Friday the 13th. There you go. That's an idea right there.
That works.
That's a good idea.
They're very talented actors. So, I mean, it could work. We got a Scottish Geek guy saying, howdy, folks. How you doing, Scottish Geek guy?
What's going on?
Saying, haven't seen Saw X yet. Don't think I saw Jigsaw either. The original Saw is a stone cold classic.
That's right.
And don't worry, Scottish Geek guy. We will give you the warning when we get over to Saw X. Just in case you're worried about spoilers there. All right, but let's get into we're actually going on the Saw X. We're already here.
We're here.
We're already here. Sorry about that, guys. So I guess I will give no spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Saw X, there's definitely going to be spoilers here. But if you don't care about the spoilers, then stick around, of course. So yeah, Saw X now. A couple years after Spiral, so Saw X 2023. I guess they saw that Spiral wasn't working the way they wanted to, so they didn't continue on with Spiral. And then they went back. Hey, let's do kind of almost a prequel in a way, but it's in between the first and second movie. So you get that kind of John Kramer vibe back. You get John Kramer front and center, which I love that because I'm like, oh, John Kramer, he's the guy. He's the villain here. He should be a main focus. And you get a lot of him in this movie, and the performance is so good here. And this movie is a lot larger scope in terms of where they travel to. So it's like kind of recapturing the old moments, but then adding some freshness to it as well. So I did quite enjoy this one, but I'll open up to you guys. What do you guys think of Saw X?
I don't know who wants to start, whatever. I really liked it. I liked it more. I don't know if this makes any sense. I liked it more a few hours after I left the theater.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, and the more I thought about it, because at first, the first, what is it, say 30 minutes, give or take? I don't know the time. First 30 minutes, it's like you're watching a Hallmark movie, almost. It's just a John Kramer story, which I ended up liking later on as the story unfolded. Yeah. But once they got into it, and it got into it, And I was happy. I was happy throughout the whole film. I liked it. It's you'll find my ranking out later, but I was a fan of it. I was happy with it.
I like the difference, like the way that they took like that first trap where it was in his head, but it didn't actually happen. So it was like a total twist to where you've never seen that before. And then the fact that they kept this ongoing thing where it was you with Kramer, and you've never had that before. Usually Kramer, you just kind of get him in points of the movie, and this time being like front and center, it really worked out well, and I hope they keep doing this.
Yeah, I have to agree. I loved this movie. Never did I think that I was gonna watch a movie where John Kramer gets played. Someone had the guts to play John Kramer, and it was kind of like you never thought he would be in the position that he puts, other people. He thought his cancer was going to be gone, and he can still continue to play his games and finish his work and do what he does. To find out that none of it ever happened. And so now he's on just this total revenge rampage on, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do this to me. Well, now you're going to pay. And so when I saw this movie and I saw the intricate trap, like the traps for this one, one of them kind of became, a brand new favorite, minus, the ones that I saw in the first movie. The guy performing his own brain surgery, that one I was kind of like, that is pretty cool. Like, and just to see him taking out, own pieces of his brain and having to melt it and wait like that. I was sitting there and I kind of had my hand on my face, and the person that I was with was just like, what did you bring me to see?
And I'm like, how did he do that though? Because I'm like, if you mess something up wrong in the brain, like he would just be like brain dead, right? I'm like, that is very difficult. Yeah.
What I liked about it the most is throughout these movies, obviously Jigsaw is the villain. He's the Michael Myers, the Jason Voorhees or whatever other films. But this movie showed that just look what he did with the kid. He actually gets put in that trap. There's a spoiler here. He gets put in that trap, whatever, at the end. Shows his humanity so much. He was willing to sacrifice himself to let that kid get out. And you see that somebody that's innocent like this kid, he has the humanity to do whatever he has to do to keep that kid safe, just as much as he does to be an evil bitch if somebody makes him mad or does him wrong. And I like the way that you really learned a lot about this character. I love this character so much more now after seeing that.
You see the villain become the victim in a way in this one, but then you also have to remember this is between 1 and 2, so you see how the villain, became the villain, and so I loved this one. I thought it was fantastic.
So I guess I'm the only one that didn't really like this one. I didn't hate it, but I just thought it was extremely average to me. I feel like it's one of those things that they just randomly thought of, what story can we think of to come out with another Saw? Because we're now reason to believe that this guy has just had the most miserable life, unlucky life ever, because now this is before all that stuff, and he went to go get brain surgery, get his cancer taken out. They scammed him and let him go. And that big of a plot point in his life, we're finding that out 10 episodes later, just sounds kind of like you guys are kind of reaching for the fence now to come out with another one, which don't get me wrong.
He had already done Saw once, so he was already doing the shit. He was already doing his diabolical stuff before all this happened. This is just kind of stuck in the middle.
And he had his own reasons for that though too already. So now we're seeing more reasons of how that he's been doing this for even longer, which I don't know, just for me seems kind of unbelievable. But again, horror film, everything's kind of unbelievable at some point. But I don't know, just something for it didn't fully click with me. Something with it just felt unnecessary and kind of forced, but there were parts of it that I did enjoy. I enjoyed the trap. The story is kind of intriguing, like damn, they screwed him bad like that, made him pay all that money, pretended that they did brain surgery on him, and really made him watch a video of brain surgery happening. Like damn, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, there's just something about it that just didn't click with me that well, so I just felt like it's kind of in the middle of the road Saw film for me.
The line in the trailer, what is that? How does it go? I'm probably going to say it wrong, but Out of all the people in the world to scam, you scam John Kramer.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
But it makes sense because at that moment they didn't
Yeah.
know he was the Jigsaw
Yeah.
killer, right? Because you don't get that reveal till Saw 2. So I liked how they were able to make it work within that. Just thinking, okay, how can we bring Jigsaw back? Okay, we have this gap between 1 and 2 we can kind of play around with. So, but I like getting the backstory more with John Kramer. You're right, the beginning's kind of more just like a drama movie than anything, and then it gets to all the horror stuff. But I like seeing Amanda back. We got Amanda back again, right?
Man, she was looking old too, huh?
But the same haircut almost she has in 2. So that played out well. You know, kind of the continuity played out well.
Yeah. And then being in that one room, that was kind of different and interesting, where like all the players, right, are seeing each other, and just some of the so brutal with the sawing the leg off, but like
The
underneath
bone marrow. Oh, that made me quease for a second. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that was rough.
Oh, and then the getting the intestines to like try to get the cart over. I'm like, oh my god,
getting the eyeballs sucked out. The eyeball vacuum
She
thing.
was a savage, man. She didn't care about nothing.
No, I laughed pretty hard at the intestine part, and I remember when I laughed, we were in the theater and a couple people behind me was like, "Yeah, that's pretty funny." Like, it of all the ridiculous things, but it worked. It worked.
Oh, and then the solar like heat one, right? The heat ray. Like you're like, oh, the person survived, and then it moves over. You're
The
like,
radiation, yeah.
So yeah, the traps were brutal in this one. I thought they were pretty creative.
The slasher are pretty great. It was very you were watching it, and every single one of them was like 30 seconds away from actually being free and actually winning, but none of them did. And you were just like, are they gonna make it? Are they gonna make it? Oh damn. But it was the little 30-second match between every single one of them where they would have gotten out. But
and something else, you have to this is where you have to kind of turn your brain off, I guess, is from the time he got screwed over to the time he made these traps. He's in Mexico. Surely he don't have all of his facilities to get all this stuff. And some of these traps, how did you get all this stuff together? You got the glass that won't break with a chair up in the room. You have all these traps that, especially the one where him and the kids on at the very end, whatever. You don't have time to get all this stuff done. You got Billy the puppet riding in on the tricycle. How do you got time to get this done from the time in Mexico? Not even in your home country. You get all this stuff done. I know he's got, I guess, unlimited money. It seems like.
And he probably got more people helping him too.
Yeah, I guess we'll figure out the next one. I guess
because he did get Amanda there, so
yeah, he was probably just like, Amanda, grab Billy.
And then we did realize too at the end, very heavy spoiler here, the end credit, Detective Hoffman was there. Yeah, helping him out. So I mean, you got
and he's actually the one that delivers the line that I like. I was just saying, there at the end. Of all the guys you can screw over, you're gonna do John Kramer.
Makes you think, are they gonna show that connection and how they first became, because they didn't show them finding the guy that lied to him about the surgery and everything. They just showed you that ending scene with him and Hoffman, and you're like, oh shit, this is crazy. But how did this become?
Well, he made the phone call. I need you to find somebody or whatever, and so that was him calling Hoffman whatever to find the dude at the end.
Yeah.
And which is I'm guessing that's going to be the next Saw movie, the Saw 11 or whatever will be, I guess more of the Hoffman story. I guess I don't know. Who knows?
All right, so let's get into now our individual rankings here, because now we've discussed all the films again. So individual rankings. All right, Vinicio, you want to run down your ranking list for everyone out there?
All right, so I didn't have it printed out in front of me, but I'm pretty sure I went 1, then 2, then 3, then Spiral, then Jigsaw, then 4, then X, then 5, 6, 7.
All right, Pops, what was your ranking?
Okay, I'm gonna go from 10 to 1. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah, my least favorite is Saw the Final Chapter. I actually have here in bold letters on my notes. Did not need to be made. Not good. I didn't like it. Just didn't like it. Number 9 for me is Jigsaw. Like I said, I enjoyed it for what it was. Just didn't. I didn't really feel like it was really needed. 4, 5, and 6 I had a hard time with, so I actually put them number 8, 6, number 7, 5, number 6, 4. Because to me, those 3 movies are almost one long movie.
Damn.
So I just put them in order 4, 5, 6. Saw X comes in at number 5. That's where it landed for me. Spiral was number 4, and I thought that was going to be a lot lower. Spiral's number 4 for me. I just like what they did with it. And then, of course, the top 3 is going to be Saw 2, Saw 3. That's never going to change. So.
All right, Rob, what was your ranking?
So I had 3D at 10. I had 5 at 9. Jigsaw at 8. Spiral at 7. Saw 3 at 6. Saw 4 at 5. 6 at 7. 6 at 4. 2 at 3. Then I had Saw X at 2, and the first as my favorite.
Wow. Yeah, that's
you had Saw X way high up there. Wow.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one a lot.
Yeah, I did too.
All right, Caprice.
All right. So I'm gonna go from 1 to 10. So I have the original Saw as my favorite. My number 2 is actually Saw 3. My number 3 is Saw 2. My number 4 is Saw X. My number 5 is Saw 4. My number 6 is actually Spiral. My 7 goes into Jigsaw. 8 would be Final Chapter. 9 was Saw 6, and my last is Saw 5.
All right, so my ranking here, so we'll work our way from the bottom to the top. So at the very bottom, hands down, Saw 3D, Saw 7, Saw Final Chapter, whatever you want to call it, worst title for a movie ever. Just didn't need to be there. This one I would consider, yes, a very bad movie. Just across the board, everything from acting to story, just blah. Yep. Next, we got Saw 5. Still not very good. Definitely a lot of missteps in there. I would still say a bad movie. Then I know you guys were higher on this one than me, but I'm gonna have Spiral here. Just missing all the Saw stuff I loved. It really hurt the movie for me. So yeah, had to drop that down. Then we got Jigsaw, which once again becoming a horror comedy. I more prefer just straight up horror, so that's why that got down there. And then now we get into what I would consider good films, like Saw 6, I think is good, so it's right there. Then we got Saw X, which I was pleasantly surprised by. I'm like, okay, Saw X got pretty high up there for being a 10th movie in a franchise. Very happy with that. And then I'll get into what I think are very good movies, right? We got Saw 4. Yes, love Saw 4. And then next, I think a perfect trilogy. Saw 3, Saw 2, Saw 1.
It is a perfect trilogy. I think it is.
Yep. That's a great trilogy.
I agree.
So.
All right, so let's look at the collective ranking now. And you guys can probably guess some of the spots based off our individual rankings here. Because, well, let's look at the comments real quick. Just I know we're getting a few people in here. We got L. Larson saying, how many Saws appear in the Saw movies? That's a great question. There are a few Saws actually in the Saw movies. You know, people
John Kramer gets a Saw. That's how he gets his demise.
The bucket. Yeah, I mean, there's some Saws in there. Let's see. Vibe saying, although definitely is double meaning of the first movie with the Saw cutting off his foot. Oh, there you go. You got the little Billy puppet right there. But then see how nice.
That's the fan right there now.
I had to show off that too.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
A double feature in the house. Hi, everyone.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Was on a stream, so I'm glad I made it to see everyone's final rankings. Absolutely, and feel free to watch the replay after this as well. Still great on the replay. Okay, so let's get into our collective ranking, our group one. All right, so 10th place, I did not need to bust out the calculator for. We got Saw 3D with a whopping 6 points, almost a perfect worst score. Almost.
No surprise.
No surprise there. 9th place is not a surprise either. Saw 5 with 12 points. But hey, it's double the score of Saw 3D. So that's something, you know. That's something to be said there. All right, then we got a tie on the next one. 8th and 7th place are tied. Any guesses on what's tied here, everybody? What do you guys think?
6 and 4, or Jigsaw and Spiral?
Oh,
Jigsaw and Saw 6 with 20 points. But that's a massive jump up from Saw 5 at 12 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jigsaw, Saw 6 at 20 points. It was funny how that matched up perfectly as a tie. I'm like, okay. And then this one got way more points than I expected for 6th place, but you guys loved it. Spiral, 25 points. So another big jump up. Yeah, very impressive. And then, okay, now we're in our top 4 here. And this is pretty obvious now what they are. But 4th place, Saw 4, 29 points. So generally people like that one. But now we're going to see the massive jump up in points here. So 3rd place, Saw 3, 38 points, just showing how beloved Saw 3 is. And then we got to have 2nd place, Saw 2, 43%. Oh my gosh, 43 points. Ton of points. And then it should be no surprise to anybody. This was first on everybody's list with a perfect score. Saw 50 points, which I was shocked by. Like, I love Saw. That's my number 1. But usually you think, oh, maybe it'd be off for somebody. Maybe it'd be a second on someone's list or something like that. But no, across the board, 5 different people that love movies say Saw 1 is the best. So that's pretty good right there. We were all on the same mindset with that one. So Saw 50 points, the best one. If you have not seen the Saw films, I mean, it's an absolute must watch. So good. Oh, look at that cover. That's a great looking cover. Is that a steelbook right there?
Yeah. This one was the 10th anniversary from Studio Canal.
Oh, that's nice, man.
Yeah, that's
great. It's got like all these like cards in it and stuff. This is a really great one if you can get your hands on this.
Yeah. That's some great artwork, and I love the red with it too.
Yeah,
I've never seen that one. That's pretty awesome.
Really cool.
I have a steel book of it upstairs, but I just have my normal set right here. But
I just have this one here that we got.
Oh, there you go.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, that's a good one, Pop. Yeah, I wish I would have got that one. I love the TV little slip on that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, I like that one.
And the Spiral Steelbook's pretty cool too, I thought.
I have mine, yeah.
Oh man, I don't have the steelbook. I only have the regular 4K.
Yeah.
Good looking Steelbook.
I know. I should have waited for the steelbook discount on that one because one time at Best Buy I got down to what, 10 or $15. I'm like, man, wish I didn't.
That's when I got it. It was at mine. I think mine was like $15.99, and I was like, oh, and I grabbed it, and it was the only one that was in like perfect condition. All the rest of them were messed up, and I was like, I'm taking it right now. So I have it upstairs. I just haven't opened it yet.
All right, we got Tiana Loves Movies in here. Hey, everyone, wanted to jump in and say hello. I'll be catching the replay. Well, thank you so much, Tiana. Greatly appreciate it. Yeah, if you're just jumping in, everybody, replay is great. Magic Hands here tonight. We got what's up, everyone? What's up, Magic Hands? All right. So, and just to recap, people joining in now, we said Saw, the first one, is the best one out of the Saw franchise. Got perfect score, 50 points. Yeah, Vibe saying love that Saw, got a perfect score. Yep. It's just so good. It's so good. It just was so revolutionary. The twist in there, the shock, the surprise. And even after you know the twist, it just still plays such a good, entertaining story. I can rewatch that one all the time, no problem. All right, so now our final question of the night. We got to think of, because we know this franchise is going to continue. They're going to keep making more of these. So thoughts on where to go with the Saw franchise. I know you guys were mentioning, okay, continue with the Detective Hoffman stuff now and there. So do we continue down the prequel road? Do you think they'll ever go past that and add a new Saw killer in it? Or are they going to stick with this John Kramer around for a while? Because, I mean, how much time do they have to play with? That's the question.
I feel like they need to go off a Spiral. They need to start making it to where it's a copycat with a whole new story, with a whole new backstory, everything like that. Because how much more can they add to his story? You know, is kind of where I'm at. I really, and that's what I liked about Spiral also, is the fact that now that was such a well-known murder thing that was happening in the world, that now there's copycats doing it for their own reasons. So I think that would be a pretty cool way for them to go from there, is keep making a copycat. You know? I
would like to see at least one more off of Saw 10. However they want to do it, whatever. Obviously, they left it open to do that. And I agree with Vinny there that basically I would like to see Spiral kind of go. At least see the second Spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shut that story instead of just leaving us hanging the way they did, the way Rob was saying earlier. So I definitely would like to see at least one more story out of the Saw 10 little arc we're doing, and then something else from Spiral for sure.
Yep.
At least.
I wonder if they would do that, like a little jumping back and forth. Like, hey, let's go back prequel, then let's go to another Spiral, and kind of do that. That would be kind of.
I kind of hope they don't retcon anything. I don't want them to retcon like 4, 5, 6, and 7, even though I didn't really like 7. I don't want them to retcon that and then just change everything around like Halloween does. I don't want them to do that.
You know what? I wasn't even thinking about that, Pops, but now that you mention it, they might do that.
Because you think about it, you got, of course, also you realize the actor is Tobin Bell is 82 years old or something like that. He's in his 80s. I mean, so you don't have much longer to really, believe this guy's going to be the killer.
Yeah. Oh, and if they do that way, please don't go with David Gordon Green on the next one.
Which they probably will.
David Gordon Green now gets Saw 4 through 6.
Give him a trilogy again, right?
I know. Oh god.
Billy Knight.
Yeah, I do kind of want them to keep going back with the John Kramer stuff just because he's such a good actor. So why he is still with us, I mean, try to see what they can do with the story. But I'm trying to think of the time frame. Like, would they just do in between films? Like, okay, there was time in between. I mean, where else does the time lie, though? Was there more time in between, 1 and 2 that they could go back to again? Because... I mean, or I guess time between 2 and 3, maybe? But 3 and 4 took place at the same time. So that wouldn't make sense. I don't know. Like, where were they
could probably squeeze out one more story, I would think.
Yeah.
And they kind of left it open to do that. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. And we get more Detective Hoffman acting, so I know you guys are a fan of that.
If they're going to do it, I hope they do it next October. Let's get back on the every October thing if they're going to do it. Don't wait 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Caprice, what are you thinking?
I agree with Vin and Pops. I would like to see Spiral get its due diligence because I feel like it's there. It's there. It just needs, they need to go to the drawing board for it, and they need to really go back to the Saw formula, and really pump that one out. I feel like that would be a great way to go. Like Pop said, they left 10 open. 10 is open for another one to come. I feel like if they were going to follow the John Kramer story a little bit more for maybe one more, that would be the way to do it because that's his story. Saw 10 is his story. So if they were going to pop out one more John Kramer film, that would be their way to do it.
Yeah, and because of Tobin Bell's age, they got to do it quick. You can't do it at 95.
Yeah, man says at least he could kill people with the walkers and canes.
Mm.
And he has the disease, so they can pull off a little bit of the old age stuff. But you could tell in 10 that he had aged quite a bit. And you could see that. He had to kind of overlook it a little bit. But he has the disease, so you can kind of play with it a little bit.
Yeah. So, and it kind of, I agree. It has to be done really quick because in that movie, in 10, they said that he has a few months, if that. So his time is very limited. So they need to either, in the movie, not saying Tobin Bell, is limited, but it's on a time frame. So if I was to choose anyone, I would say I would rather have them go the Spiral route and have this be maybe the end of the John Kramer storyline and just like let it fall where it falls and go the other route because Spiral was there. It just, you missed a couple things. That was it.
Yeah, I wonder if they don't go the Spiral route though, maybe because of budget constraints, because big name actors, right? Chris Rock, does that command a large paycheck there? I wonder if it's a budget constraint thing. But I don't know. The only other option I could see is, besides doing another one in between movies, what if they did like a super prequel, one before the first Saw movie? But they kind of did that with Jigsaw, though, huh? Saying that was the first game that took place. Yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird. It's so difficult to kind of place where they would do that next one. Rob, what are you thinking on this one? Would you? Because you love Saw X, so I'm guessing you would want to continue with that.
I would like to see like what happens like exactly after they leave the traps and everything, and where he meets up with Hoffman exactly. I'd like to know that more because I feel like you kind of like in 4 and all them, you kind of just get thrown Hoffman, and then in this one, you're like, oh, here's Hoffman again. But how did this become? And I feel like we could learn a lot more from that, and I think that's mostly all we could get because like, how many months does he really have left? How much time? But then I feel like eventually they could go back to that spiral route. I don't know if we'll get exactly spiral, but I think the idea of like these copycat killers that are doing it for other reasons, certain things that they want to, you know, get people for doing like bad things. Like I feel like if they went the route of like kind of how 6 was with the insurance guy, where everyone is about some person that did something that was terrible like that, it could really work out well.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I like Pop said, I hope they start doing every October because it was always a great time. Just saw. Even though they weren't the great, you always looked forward to seeing those movies.
Yeah, late spring we get a trailer. We have those few months to anticipate.
Yep.
Get ready for it. It was a great time.
Yeah, I like that idea, Rob, though, about that social commentary angles, kind of making it relevant to stuff too. And
I think that'd be relevant to now too, because people are really into that type of thing where it's more like that social commentary, like there's a reason behind everything.
I don't think this is a franchise that 20 years from now that somebody can reboot. Or somebody like say somebody's going to go back and remake Saw 1.
They would try though. They would try to reboot.
This would be a tough one to do that with, I think. Because it was such a unique moment at the time it came out. I don't see that being recreated. Won't stop them from trying it.
Yeah, because I mean, it would be tough to recapture the twist stuff, right? Because you'd be always expecting and predicting the twist here. That would be key there. Well, yeah, well, we'll see where they go with it. But this was an awesome discussion with you all tonight. It's great to get some Saw fans on here and talk this franchise because I love this franchise. I mean, all the films I can at least have fun with, even Saw 3D just being so terrible. I get a few laughs out of it. But this is such a great franchise, especially like I said, those first 3 films just completely changed the whole genre. It's something so fresh. So love talking the Saw films with you all, but I'll give you guys a chance to kind of go around, promote anything you got upcoming on your channel. So Vinicio, what do you got going on?
I really got nothing going on right now. So just if you want to follow me, go ahead and do that, and I will do my best to get around to it again. But right now I'm on a hiatus. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. Oh, and everybody out there, audience, channel links are in the description below for all these amazing panel members. Definitely go ahead and give them a sub, give them a follow, all of their social medias, whatever they want. And, of course, their amazing video content. You got to watch that stuff. They're all great on this channel. So definitely visit them, show them some love. Pops, what do we got going on?
This Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be over on Anthony's Horror and More's channel. We're going to be ranking all 21 John Carpenter films. I've been on top of the Saw movies. I've been watching all the John Carpenter films, getting ready for that. So been busy. But it's been a good time getting ready for that as well. So that's coming up this coming Saturday. I'm always doing top 5 streams on my channel, usually once a month. So I got some more of those coming out. We'll be announcing the next one here pretty soon. But right now, that's about it. I know at the end of the month, I'm going to be on KB's channel. KB Loves Movies. I was on there last year as well. We're going to be just talking about 5 horror movies, having a discussion with him. That's going to be out the last week of the month. Coming up to Halloween. So that's about what I got going on now. So,
all right, Rob, what do we got going on?
I'm gonna try to pop some stuff out this month because it's October. I love horror. Haven't been able to do much, just moved, so figuring out the whole setup and everything. But you can catch me at Rob the Horror Barber on Instagram. I post a lot about like new things coming out, new things I might have bought in, like the new Halloween trilogy box set I just got today at Best Buy. Because as much as I don't like the movies, the set looks amazing. But yeah, if you want to check out stuff like that, it's on there. But I'll be posting on here more. So if you want to follow, you'll get that stuff soon. But yeah.
All right. And Caprice, what do we got going on?
I have a busy month planned ahead of me. I pretty much have something planned for every Tuesday and Sunday for the rest of this month. my thing coming up, I think the thing coming up next for me is a Friday the 13th conversation and ranking as well, over on Convicted Cinephiles page. I also have a thing coming up with KB. Mine's also at the end of the month. I am also doing a stream over with Dell. We're doing our very first movie slump, so that one I'm really excited about. And I also have some stuff coming up with the twins. So yeah, it's a very very busy month for me. And so if you want to go ahead and see what I'm doing, go ahead and give Draculina Horror a follow, and everything's going to be posted there as it comes along. Oh, you did.
That's awesome. So yes, everybody, audience, definitely go ahead and visit everybody's channels here. For me, you guys probably mostly know me out there, the audience, but if there's anybody new visiting for the first time, well, once again, welcome to the channel. Thank you for being here. If you love talking movies and collecting physical media, I have a video for you every day on this channel. I'll kind of show you the thumbnails here in case you missed anything. But the other day, I dropped my Amazon Dill video. So there's some really great horror titles and spooky season titles on discount. So I highly recommend check that out if you want to save some money while you're collecting out there. And then I did do a fun little rant video today. If you guys haven't seen it, I had a rant on Scream Factory again. I didn't want to do it, but I had to because their Shocktober sale is terrible. But I give you examples why. And then tomorrow I drop Mega Movie Numbers, where we talk about all the hottest 4Ks being sold, look at the different disc formats and how well they're doing out there in the market share world. And then on Thursday, complete the Rad 9 challenge of movies that scared us. So if you want to see that, I get to relive some, nightmarish memories there. That was a really fun video to put together. So yeah, if you definitely want to check that one out on Thursday. The next stream I have going on, though, don't have the thumbnail for it yet, will be, I believe, next Tuesday night, I want to say, if I remember correctly. But we're talking about the best Halloween costumes that show up in movies. So that's going to be a really fun stream. So very excited for that one. So definitely keep tuned to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you see when those pop up. But yeah, thank you, audience, for being here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, amazing panelists. Thank you for all the comments in the chat. And just thank you for being a part of this amazing film fan community out there. But everybody have a great night. Go watch some movies out there. If you haven't seen the Saw stuff, go watch Saw X if you missed it. It's a good one. But yeah, have a good night, everyone out there.
Game over.